there we go. Let's go rinse these off and add them to the stir fry. Hi everyone, I'm Michelle and welcome back to my meadow. In this video, we are going to be trying something new, pumpkin blossoms within a lo mein stir fry. So let's head to the pumpkin patch and collect those blossoms. Currently, we have a load of male blossoms within the pumpkin patch. So this morning, I'm going to go ahead and cut these back and we're going to have them with our lunch in a stir fry. Woo, we have our first female flower. Look here. Fantastic. That is fantastic. And we don't need the stems. We might even cut this little bit off there so it's nice and soft. And, oh, actually that works out nicely. Cut that off. And then I can take this stem completely out and I'm left with just the flower portion. I'll just toss this back in the garden. I've never made this before. Actually, I'm not even the one cooking. My wife is cooking, so we'll see how this turns out. But I don't need this part for the cooking. Might be faster for her with a knife, but I just wanted to show you guys on the camera. We're just cutting the bottom out. And this feels a little tougher, so I'm going to go a little higher here. See that pollen blowing off? Now, if you know differently, feel free to let us know in the comments. This is just me trying something new. I even picked a couple that were already closed from yesterday. We'll see if that makes a difference or not. Yeah, there we go. Let's go rinse these off and add them to the stir fry. And if you like this content, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. We're gardening here on 1/4 acre in a suburban lot in Northeast Florida. It's amazing how much food you can grow in such a small space. I am literally just going to use this little, oh, here's one I didn't get the middle out of. I'm going to use this bowl here. Then I can simply move them up and down. And when we're ready to use them, they can stay cool in this water until it's time to cook. And then we're ready to use them. We can just pull them out, let them drain just a little bit on a paper towel, and then add them to the stir fry. Some of the other deliciousness going into it, we've got green onions, carrots, celery, ginger, and tomatoes. And cilantro. For this dish, we'll be using ground pork, but of course, with any stir fry, you can choose the meat that makes you happiest. We are actually going to take some leftover spaghetti, and my wife is turning this into a stir fry lo mein using the pumpkin blossoms as part of the vegetables in the dish. We started with some onions and ginger sauteed in the pan and then added in the meat. Before you add in your other vegetables, you want your meat to be thoroughly cooked and seasoned to taste. In this section, we actually added in some fish sauce, some salt, some garlic, and some other spices to really help bring out the flavor. Once the meat is done, you can start adding in your other vegetables for the stir fry. You want to start with the things that are harder and take longer to cook down. So think carrots and onions would go in, and celery before you would put in your tomatoes. So we're going to let this cook down a little bit, get that all stirred in before we add the next round of vegetables. Y'all really wish you could smell this, I promise you. You really, really do. It's almost time to put in the softer elements into the stir fry. So I've gone ahead and drained the pumpkin blossoms and I've laid them out on the towel just to get a little bit of the excess water out so that they can have the ability to soak up some of the flavors that are happening in the dish. Now, normally for lo mein, you would use an Asian noodle, but we had spaghetti left over in the fridge, so that's what we're using today. Now we're going to go ahead and add in the tomatoes. We want everything to be cooked down, but we still like it to have a little bit of crispness. We don't want it to be turned to mush. You really get a much better flavor when your vegetables have a little bit of bite to them, a little bit of crispness. It really makes the flavor better, and I suspect the nutrients are better because it hasn't all been cooked down. And don't overcook the tomatoes either along with the other vegetables. You just want to get them nice and warm. And my understanding is when you cook tomatoes a bit, it does bring out more of the nutrients for them. Now we're going to add in the pumpkin blossoms. A delivery person last week told us that growing up in Mexico, they used to just stir fry the pumpkin blossoms. I had never heard of stir frying them before, so when I mentioned it to my wife, she was like, oh, we could try that. Go get them for me. So here we are, having a great little experiment, including ingredients from the garden. I have to tell you, there is just nothing like being able to taste fresh ingredients that you grew yourself in the cooking. Even if it's not 100% of the meal, every time you can add an ingredient from your own yard, that to me is a win, my friends. Now that those are wilted down, we're going to go ahead and add the spaghetti in and stir that all up. I cannot wait to taste this. All right, now we're ready to plate it up. And reserve a pumpkin blossom to use as decor. I had already cut the bottom out of this one. One full blossom certainly makes a beautiful way to decorate your plate. And if you like cilantro, of course, you can top it off with that. Bon appetit. Now we got to give it a taste. I want to make sure I find a little bit of pumpkin blossom here. So good I'm wearing some. Oh, that's really tasty. I wouldn't know, other than it tastes like I'm eating a flower. It has picked up the flavor that's within the noodles. It really has a nice taste to it. It's not bitter. I would eat those again. That's no problem. I would say if you have a texture issue when eating, you might not like the texture because it does taste like you're eating a flower. But there's no negative flavor to it. It literally has soaked up the taste in the dish. So, that's how we go, yard to table. Until next time, my friends, remember to wear that high quality sunscreen, drink plenty of water, and have a fantastic day. And when possible, anything that I've grown in my own garden, I know I'm not putting any kind of harsh synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, and so I try to collect the rinse water and then use it back in the garden just to help conserve water and put some of the nutrients that washed off of the plants right back into the ground.